Hello, welcome to another episode of the Waffle Press TV Hangouts. I am your host, Diego Crespo. With me today, I have my lovely co-host, Emily Sophia. How are you doing today?
I am doing pretty good. A little bit spoopy. I just had a massage and an adjustment, and so my entire body is lost in the ether right now.
Oh,
In
that
a
sounds
good way.
okay. I
In a
was
good
like, yeah,
way.
that sounds fantastic, but that might be bad. I might be misreading.
Yeah, no, I'm not feeling like Melisandre or anything.
Yeah, speaking of Snoopy, this week's TV Hangouts was entirely devoted to the Game of Thrones season premiere. Emily and I haven't talked about it at all. I think we just tweeted out about it a couple times.
Yeah.
Um, Emily talked about it on her channel, but us two haven't discussed it. So I am just going to let you go ahead right off the bat. Emily, what did you think about the Game of Thrones season premiere?
I generally liked it quite a bit. And this was something that I kind of mentioned in my own review, but it's a thought that still really stands and resonates for me. Is this is one of the first episodes that really feels like everything is kind of lurching forward and reaching for the end game. Like this was, I mean, there was only a couple of major players that we didn't get to touch on, like of course Bran, and we know that he's coming very soon. But we got to see the beginning of what I feel are like the final major trajectories for a lot of our characters. Now, I don't know how many seasons are going to come after this, and I don't know how many episodes they will have, but like there is a lot of focus on kind of the comeback stories of many of the female characters in the show. I have to say that my favorite moment was the triumphant return of Brienne, who saves the day and who finally gets to team up with Sansa. And well, if they're headed toward the north, they might not want to do that, but you know they're thinking that they're they're in the clear. And I'm just happy to see that Sansa is striking out on her own and getting away from the Boltons and epically screwing Ramsay over, who, you know, very well could be displaced if, he can't produce an heir. So that's a big in your face. I am worried for Dany. I am worried for Dorne. I'm worried for a lot of people, but yeah, I think that this episode did a pretty good job of touching base with where everyone is at and what's going on and setting up a ton of stuff for the season. So from this episode alone, I can kind of tell some of the directions that we're going to be going in. I would love to hear your thoughts before I elaborate further.
Yeah, so I love this premiere. I don't think maybe it's my favorite premiere. I don't know, but I thought this was a great return to form because you and I have discussed it. Links down below, of course, to our season 5 discussions. Not the strongest outing for the show as a whole.
No.
Hard Home is maybe the best moment of the series, maybe best episode, arguably. But as a whole, it didn't really come together until the end. And then, of course, we've discussed the many issues they have with gratuitous violence and rape in the show.
Yep.
And right off the bat, I felt like they were steering directly away from that. Like it kind of
Yes.
hint like, oh yeah, they're gonna have her go through getting raped again. Like, oh, I had to like brace myself. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
First step. Nope, not this time.
Nope, nobody can touch her. But now they're going to try and send her to the place where the wives of deceased cows go to mourn them forever. So, not exactly a great alternative. But the further we get away from rape, the better.
I agree. And I like your comments on it feels like we're heading towards the end game, because when I was watching it, it felt like, Lost was a show that really built up to their finales really well. Like all the players would come together and would have to go up against whatever seasonal issue was going on. And it felt like that. This felt like the a penultimate episode where all the pieces were coming together. But this is season 6, and there's like 3 more seasons, including this one, right? So
Right.
yeah. But especially when like Brienne comes in and rescues Sansa and Theon, which was awesome. I'm still bummed that Stannis is just dead like that. Like that's just weird to me that they wrote out his entire story like that. Really anticlimactic and not in a fun way. But yeah, Brienne coming in was great, and I felt like, man, all these pieces are really coming together nicely, and it really felt like the series got new blood, like an adrenaline shot, just shot straight into its bloodstream, And I feel like amped about this show again. It feels good because I was kind of dreading some of the stuff this season. Like there's no book material anymore. There's like 1 chapter for Bran left, I think, and there's like nothing. So this could be good or bad. And because season 5 had a lot of original material as well, and that was the stuff that often led them astray, I was like, oh, please, cautionary tales just to get better. And this is a heck of a right start for me. And the Dorne stuff, this was like better than all the Dorne stuff in the previous season.
Oh, yeah.
This one scene where they just completely eviscerate the power structure there. I felt bad for the Martell kid. He just didn't even have a chance. Just gets a spear through the back of the head.
Yeah, that was a brutal shot. And like you knew that it's like, okay, the kid was turning his back to like a sand snake. Talking about Prince Duran's son. That's what I always call him because I never know if it's like Doran or Duran. So anyway, that was a really very violent moment, just getting his face punctured by a spear from it was a nice shock. Yeah, very, very crazy stuff.
Yeah, so I guess they're just I guess they realized what didn't work last season. They're like, okay, new plan, just retexture that entire story arc.
Yep.
And it's so good. Like, this was just a really great re-entry into the series. I am still worried about my buddy Jorah. He's still not long for this world.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer. I'm still wondering how they're going to connect those stories to the Westeros stories. But if they can keep up this momentum and the plotting that this episode had, then I'm on board. There's still a lot of moving pieces. We haven't even caught up with them. There's Bran. Sam doesn't know that Jon is dead.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah. They've got their work cut out for them. But like you said, this is an episode that shows that it seems like they're really confident in where they're headed. And I liked the jumping back and forth between all of the different characters because it actually kind of serves to, like you said, inject a lot of momentum into the story. Now, I've enjoyed episodes in the past where like they're only focused on about half of the characters and they can do very well with that. But I like this introduction, this like, okay, let's go around the world in 80 seconds and like see where everybody is at, because you start to kind of draw some really interesting parallels between characters as a result. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Cersei and Jaime. For example, it seems like they're probably going to get around to trying to overthrow the Faith Militant. I don't know what that's going to mean for Marjorie or Loras, and then with Ilaria and the Sand Snakes taking over Dorne, and like there's just a lot of really powerful pieces on the chessboard that are getting moved around, and it's very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I hadn't even touched on the King's Landing stuff.
Right.
They got to deal with the Faith Militant, and then I think the Dorne stuff is going to kick back into the upper echelons of Westeros now, because I mean that's such a big plot thread from last season. I don't see how that doesn't have a ripple effect to that central storyline. And I'm in the books, I see where the Sansa and Theon stuff could intersect. And
Mm-hmm.
now I am just so confused because no, I'm not going to say any major spoilers, but I'll just say Stannis has a big part in what apparently book 6 it has to deal with. So season 6, he's not even here. And
Yeah.
so there's all these disparate storylines, but they're all really worth investing in this season.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I love that stuff. The Melisandre ending,
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting route to take the character. I was like, oh, that's a cool reveal, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that was the strongest way to end the episode. But it was a good moment, and I
Mm-hmm.
like that the Night's Watch stuff is still intriguing, even though John's dead.
Yeah, definitely. And it's gonna be I'm trying to figure out, what the whole reveal with the Red Priestess means. Like whether this is her just kind of trying to face herself and her failings and like her inability to see the future as she once thought, or if she's going to pull herself up by her bootstraps and try and work some magic with Jon Snow. I mean, we have no idea what this is going to mean at this point, but I like the standoff and to see, the people who are still faithful to Jon and how they're trying to navigate Alistair Thorne's rise to power, and how they know that as soon as they set foot outside that door, it's going to mean death. But Davos seems like par for the course. He's like, okay, like I'll play the game, and he's just kind of in it. But yeah, that stuff continues to be really compelling as well. And now it may very well be that Sansa and Theon and Brienne are on their way in that direction. So it's like this is all gonna collide, and like John's gonna come back to glorious life. I don't freaking know. But at this point, based on this beginning, I trust them to deliver something really wild and exciting. And I really hope that we get to see more of kind of the supernatural elements of the show too. That would be great.
Yes, I hope so with Bran, because in the season trailer, it looks like the Night's King just shows up right next to him. Obviously, they can't kill off Bran like that, because then that would mean that just doesn't matter. That story just doesn't matter, and that would be another anticlimactic story. And I hope they learn from that Stannis one too. And yes, my boy Davos, I love him. I love him to death. So I'm glad he's getting a new front row seat to some of the more main plot centric stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
As we wrap up here, I asked you guys on Twitter, what do you think of the season premiere? I got a couple of replies. Ryan McLean said, with the exception of Hardhome, it's better than all of last season. The Equiatic Bind says, it was nice to see Dorne scenes that didn't make me so bored my brain tried to escape out of my ass. At Fan WA said, thought it was good, satisfactory, but I just arrived home after watching Green Room, and then it's a gif of Joffrey Baratheon just kind of shrugging. I want to see Green Room, so
me too.
We'll probably talk about that on this show. And percentage-wise, 13% said best premiere yet, 47% said good, 32% said Kanye shrug, and 8% of you said bad. So this episode didn't win over everybody, but it won over me, and I guess Emily too, quite a bit.
Yes, that it did.
So on that note, Emily, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Mighty Sophia, EM, the word mighty, SOFIA, which is also my Facebook and also my Twitter. Twitter is kind of my main hub when I'm not uploading and doing stuff on YouTube. But yeah, I'm currently reviewing Game of Thrones and Bates Motel. I'm about to go on vacation, but once I come back from that and settle back in, I hope to have a new lineup of reviews coming soon too. I'm also actually doing some role-playing games on Tuesday nights on twitch.tv at Friendly Fire TV, all one word, Friendly Fire. We're playing a game called Blades in the Dark, and we're a bunch of rogues in kind of the steampunk world, and we're gonna do some bad stuff. So that's another thing I do. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so check all that stuff out. And since Emily will not be here next week, I might have another co-host, or I might just talk at the camera and tell you guys my spoiler-free thoughts on Kimmy Schmidt. And then the following week, we'll be back to normal schedule. Just, we got our stuff crisscrossed this week, and so we kind of got to cram in this one episode. But we want to talk about Game of Thrones, so it all fits. And, of course, you can find me on Twitter at Dago Waffles, at The Waffle Press, YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. Like, subscribe if you like this video. If you didn't like it, like, subscribe anyways, because you might find something you do like. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.